How's it going, everybody? My name is Jungle Jordan. We are here at Northwest Trek. We have a special tour ahead of us. I'm super excited to be here. Let's go. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you. So who are you?
My name is Skylar. I'm one of the animal care team members here at Northwest Trek Wildlife Park. And today we're going to be going on the Keeper Adventure Tour, which is our premier off-road Jeep tour. We're going into free roaming, which is 435 acres of mixed hoof stock, all of our hoofed animals out here at Trek. So
no carnivores out there?
No carnivores, no. If you see a cougar today, you let me know. We've done something terribly wrong, so.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm pretty excited. Let's head on out there.
Yeah, let's get out there.
Thank you. Oh, service. Look at the service here. I'm really excited. I haven't been on this tour before, and I've been out in the free roam area, but this is brand new for me. And he's driving with the door open, so that's perfect. You know what I feel like? I feel like we're going into Jurassic Park.
Everybody says.
I'm going into Jurassic Park right now because I feel like what's his name? Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Oh gosh, help me out, you guys. What's his name? He sits there with his shirt open like this.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that's bothering me.
What's his real name?
I was just talking to
Jeff
him.
Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. I was just talking about him the other day.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love
So
him.
I said nature finds a way. So there's one of the old trams there, and in the middle is that
that's one of the new ones.
Electric.
Wow, it's so much shorter and smaller.
Yeah.
That
So
thing.
we've got 2 more that I think just made it into the port of Seattle, and we've got 3 more coming from Portugal. So we're just experiencing some shipping delays getting them in, but we're very excited for this new
very
train.
exciting.
But we've entered free roaming. So like I was saying before, it's a huge amount of space, right? We don't measure things in acres generally. 435 acres, it's more than 300. It's a lot of space. You'll see that. But the difficulty can be finding the animal. So I used to say, if you see something, say something, but that's TSA's tagline. So just let me know if you see an animal. And I can see a few animals right now.
That's great. Yeah, so they got a deer here and then the caribou up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Got one of our black-tailed deer here. So this is a young doe, a female deer. Doe, a deer, a female deer.
A female deer.
Exactly.
You've been watching too much, what's the, oh gosh.
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, thank you, jeez.
And then coming up the road to say hi to us here are some of our caribou. Now, are these male or female caribou?
That's the trick question because reindeer are the only species where both male and females have antlers.
Absolutely. They're the only species in the world. And so I know that these are all female caribou. We have woodland caribou here. And you're correct, reindeer and caribou are the same animal.
Sorry.
No,
I'm so used to calling them
completely
reindeer.
fine. Reindeer would be the domesticated version.
Right,
Still
right.
wild animals. And you can see they're still working on shedding out their winter coat. And you hear that popping and clicking?
Clicking? No, it's tendons.
So that clicking is my favorite fact about caribou. They have this extra tendon in their ankle that makes that popping sound. It's this complicated interplay between a ball joint and a tendon, and I don't really understand it myself, so I won't go into detail. But that allows them to keep track of their herd. So even at a dead sprint in a snowstorm, these animals can keep track of how many animals are around them, how fast they're going, and what direction they're heading in.
You know the song, it's a holiday song, Up on the Rooftop, click, click, click.
Yeah.
So people used to think it was because of the hooves hitting the roof, but it's actually because of the tendon sound.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
A good way to tell the males and females apart is that the males grow these, besides being a little bit larger in the body and all that, a little bit larger neck ruff, the males grow insane antlers. I mean, they have the coolest antlers of any animal, in my opinion. An adult caribou bull will be about half the size of an adult elk bull, and they grow just as big, if not larger, antlers. So just really, really preposterous. Yeah, I like to say everything that makes this place amazing for the animals makes it harder for me to do my job as a keeper. To find them, to get food to them, to get medical attention to them. They have this really incredible level of welfare, quality of life out here. Mm-hmm. But they have that because they have this freedom of choice. They have this self-regulation of their environment. On a minute-by-minute, hour-by-hour, day-by-day basis, they can go wherever they want here. Mm-hmm. Now, our job as keepers is to try to make them be a little more visible to the public because we want people to come and see these animals. But ultimately, that's up to them. I'm not going to be going and herding them out of the back areas if they want to be hidden for the day. So this here on the right is Horseshoe Lake, and you can see out across the lake is the Hellier Natural History Center. So Doc and Connie Hellier were the ones who originally bought most of what is now the free roaming area back in the 1930s. Moved out here in the 50s, and in 1971, this will all be on the quiz at the end. 1971, They donated their entire property, about 350 acres, to Metro Parks Tacoma. and we opened truck a few years later. So this is really the legacy of the Hellier family, the generosity of one family. If you look to the left, you have some of our mountain goats.
Ooh.
So this looks to be our female group of mountain goats. And I can tell that by looking at the ear tags, but also I know that all the females are still shedding out that winter coat. And you'll see these little white fluffs all over Free Roam as they shed out that thicker winter coat. So who do we have here? So closest to us with the right red ear tag is Fairchild. And then the left red ear tag is little Eleanor. Now, she's not so little anymore. She's 3 years old this year, but I've known her since she was a month and a half, so I will probably forever call her little Eleanor. But then our true youngest is the Nettle, the smallest one up at the top, and she was born here last spring. She just celebrated her 1-year birthday 3 weeks ago. So all of our goats here at Trek, including the 2 males who are off doing their own thing somewhere else, the Nettle is the only goat that was born here last spring. All of our other mountain goats came to us from that mountain goat relocation project. So that the background of that program is that mountain goats were introduced to the Olympics in the 1920s. They're not native, they're not supposed to be there, but they are native to the North Cascades on Washington's Canada border. So they started this large multi-year, multi-government agency program to relocate mountain goats out of the Olympics and move them into the North Cascades. They can bring in some genetic diversity, expand their population, and we were able to take on some of the orphans from that program. So they do a very good job of finding family groups together and relocating them together. But sometimes there's moms that are too sick to be relocated, or they find orphans by themselves. Whatever that case may be, we were able to take on some of those orphans. So at one point we had 11 little mountain goats running around our barn, and we were able to send some of those off to other areas. So that's one of those structures I was talking about where those smaller animals always have access to food. So one of the challenges out here is how do you get animals enough food? How do you keep big animals from pushing off small animals? And part of it is that there's a lot of food out here growing naturally this time of year. They can all kind of graze as they like. But we can't support 100% of their diet all year round just off what's growing here naturally in the park. So we do provide supplementary food all year round. And that's an area where those smaller animals always have access to food without pressure from those larger animals. So we've got 3 of those around free roaming. Just want to make sure we're mitigating that competition.
He would come right up and I would realize how tall they actually are. I'm 6'4", right? So like I'm not a short guy,
yeah,
right? But he comes up to me and his shoulder is well above my head.
Yeah,
well above it. So that's him just standing next to me. That's just a massive animal walking around.
Yeah, Aspen's an average size female. She's about 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weighs about 800 pounds. A big male could be 7.5 feet tall at the shoulder, 1,200 pounds. I mean, they
Absolutely
are
absurd.
really, really big animals. And people get into trouble because they say, this is not a meat-eating animal, I must be safe with it. These are potentially very dangerous animals.
Yeah.
Bison, moose, these animals. We tend to be very afraid of cougars and shark attacks. You're statistically more likely to have a coconut fall on your head or be struck by lightning than you are to be attacked by a shark.
A coconut?
Yeah, so...
A coconut?
Yeah. People die more from coconuts than they do shark attacks, right? And part of that is that we're not in the ocean as much, but the point stands that we have this part of our brain that we are afraid of those meat-eating animals. But I think Disney has partially ruined us because we're not as afraid as we should be or as respectful of the space of these large animals. You hear about people in Yellowstone trying to touch bison and ride them and do other nonsensical things. Some of these bulls are 2,500 plus pounds, can run 35 miles an hour. Unless you can run 40 miles an hour, maybe you don't mess with them. So we have found our bachelor elk herd and one of our bachelor bison.
Skylar, a question I get on Facebook all the time is, don't the antlers hurt them?
What?
Are they so heavy that they hurt them?
Oh, yeah.
How do you answer that?
Jordan, do you have an answer for this?
I have an answer. Their necks are built specifically to hold on to those, to have those antlers on their heads. They have all that neck, all those neck muscles, all the shoulder muscles. Just look at that hump. That is basically a big powerful muscle. Same thing with the bison up here. They all that strength is built to have that weight on their heads. It's actually funny when they drop their antlers. Sometimes it's not always both at the same time. So they'll be kind of lopsided, and you'll see them walking around a little bit like, oh, I have a little less weight on my head right now, but I wouldn't say it causes them pain at all.
See, this guy's, he's sitting just around 2,800 pounds about, and just shy of 3,000 pounds, 6 feet tall at the shoulder. He is a powerhouse of an animal.
Look at this. Look how massive his body is. Just look at the girth of him. He's such a big animal.
You're next to like a Mini Cooper, essentially, right?
That's
I mean, they're huge.
You said how much do you think he weighs?
Ours generally weigh a little bit more than you might find in the wild, just because we're not a resource-limited environment. So generally, a bull might be 2,500 pounds. Certainly, there are larger individuals in the wild, but ours is probably weighing around 2,800 or so.
2,800 pounds of just massive muscle. Look how big his hooves are. Those hooves, that's like as big as my hand, just about.
They get their antlers in their bodies as big as possible to impress the ladies during the fall breeding season. But the bison do something a little bit different. There'll be one dominant herd bull that stays with that female group, the cow herd, pretty much year round. He'll go off occasionally on his own, but he'll generally stick with that female group. And the other boys just go off and become what they call satellite bulls. They're off in their own orbit. So he's just taking time for personal growth, self-care, doing his own thing.
He's taking care of himself, yeah. I love that a lot. Skincare routines and all that. It's really good.
Exactly. Bison do a behavior called wallowing, which is they roll around, they rip up that grass, and they create these kind of dust baths. And they can do it in the mud if they want to cool down more. But that dust bath, like a chinchilla would use, will get rid of flies and pests on them. It will cool them down, and it will help scratch those hard to reach spots. Like, we're pretty lucky to be able to scratch and itch any part of our body. They have to be a little more creative. So especially when they're shedding out that winter coat, you'll see these big patches of fur dropped in those wallows. And in the wild, that's a really important part of spreading native plant diversity. So you think back when there's 60 plus million of these animals roaming across, the U.S. They were a big part of keeping the Midwest, the grasslands, the Great Plains as healthy grasslands. Because when they would roll around, they'd pull up grass seeds and plant seeds, and they'd go to another spot and wallow, and they would drop them, till the soil, drop that fur, drop those seeds, and help to spread that plant diversity. So really amazing animals. So a good piece of information that I'm sure you're aware of, but I like to get out for all my tours, is the difference between antlers and horns. Because a lot of people know the difference, but don't really think of it in direct terms. So antlers are typically only worn by the males of a species, and they grow and drop every year. And horns are worn by both males and females of a species and stay on their whole lives. So think bison, bighorn sheep, mountain goats. Those animals all have horns. So this vehicle in particular is not a negative stimulus vehicle.
No, I'm really loving this truck, or this Jeep. I can't really call it a truck. Is it a truck?
Jeep.
It's a Jeep. Yeah, I love this Jeep. It feels so comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's cushy. It's like you got the little USB ports on the side. Like, how fancy is this?
There's there's the juice bar back there if you can find it.
It's back here somewhere. I was looking for it earlier. It's only missing one thing. There's not a gym. I need to work out. I mean, I don't really work out anyway. But you're talking about skipping leg day.
We'll get the Trek Fitness program here later, I'm sure.
Okay.
But we're coming up on our bison herd here.